live in attendance last night. You saw that beatdown, 40-17. Let's get into them. Let's start with the Fs, Scott. Misery loves company, and there's a lot of company for Connor Barwin, Brandon Graham, Vinny Curry, Cedric Thornton, D'Amico Ryans. Tell us about those 6 guys that got Fs last. 5 guys, that got Fs last night.
Yeah, and I said right there in the explanation, too, that these 5 players are just a small sample of the group. I singled them out. You could throw Kiko Alonso in there. You could throw pretty much.
You could even throw Byron Maxwell in there. I know you're a little light on him.
I gave him a D, but yeah, we'll get into that. I just couldn't stand the missed tackles. I mean, if you want to point at one thing that really cost them last night, that was it. I mean, that was the biggest thing. Yeah. It's just inexcusable. Can't happen at this level. Can't happen really at any level of football. You're not going to win if you can't tackle. That's the name of the game. Yeah, you mentioned Byron Maxwell. I wondered if he was playing flag football when he went for the piggyback ride for 15 yards. But yeah, you got to tackle.
The Fells catch.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to get into with Maxwell because earlier on this season, listen, he gets the money. Obviously, he's not worth that. But Byron Maxwell, the player, trying to play to his strengths. He's obviously a good football player. He's coming from the Legion of Boom. The guy knows how to play defense if you put him in the right positions, I think. And I think earlier on this season, Scott, he wasn't in a good position. He's playing 10 yards off. His man, Julio Jones, tore him up in week 1, you remember. But then kind of midway through the season, weeks, I guess, 8 through 12, whatever it was, he started to play a bit better, and he was a good part of that defense. Last night, though, he's back to playing 10 to 12 yards off his man.
And I think that was due to the ankle he tweaked in practice during the week.
Okay.
And I think that's where he gave – because, again, look, nobody would have been happy if he would have gotten schooled and beaten like a rented mule by John Brown going down the field because Maxwell wasn't given enough cushion on some of that. I understood what happened. I'm not saying that I agreed with it. If the guy couldn't give you everything he's got to be what he needs to be, then he shouldn't have been out there in the first place. He does not like contact in terms of making tackles.
Which is funny because he's, again, coming from Richard Sherman's school of defense.
Well, I was just going to qualify that by saying he does like playing the bump and run, and that is not something Billy Davis has let him do.
And that's, again, goes to the part of putting your players in the best position to make plays.
Right. You can't take a square peg and try to put it in a round hole.
DeMarco Murray.
Byron Maxwell. When you get a guy, Nasi Asamoah was just like that. I mean, you can't take a guy who plays a certain style, who's been proven to play that style well, put him over here in your place and say, but we want you to play like this. Why? Why would you take somebody who plays a certain style well and then assume that they're just going to be able to play the way you want them to play just as well? That's what they've done here to Byron Maxwell. It's not entirely his fault. He loves to play the bump and run. He breaks up timing with that. They don't let him do it, and he's trying to now make up for it by trying to give off some cushion and then close on a play. He doesn't have the closing speed to do that.
Yeah, to me, Scott, Maxwell is just like the rest of them. You don't have any superstars on this football team. Maxwell is a good piece. He's a good complement, just like Jordan Matthews. Jordan Matthews, he's a nice piece. He's a good complement. He's not a superstar. Maxwell's just like the rest of them. And we'll get to more of these guys. Let's go to the C category. Start with the players before we get to the head coach. Sam Bradford, Ryan Matthews, those 2 guys from the offensive side of the football, they get C's from you, Scott.
Yeah, when you look at it, Ryan Matthews had over 5 yards per carry. You go, wow, that's not bad. But the fumble that he had just really, really aggravated me to the point that I had to knock him down, I think, a couple of grade levels for that. He's got to be better with the ball in a situation where he was barely even touched and coughed it up. Just made a great cut to get through the hole and looked like he was about to turn it up for even more yards. And that happened. He did break off a 20-yard run. I mean, I saw a lot of positives, again, out of Ryan Matthews. In his second game back from injury, liked it. I think he's definitely heading in the right direction, and I think he's going to be somebody who could have a big game this Saturday, in all honesty. But as far as grading him on the last one, the big fumble that led to directly to, in a couple of plays later, a touchdown that really helped the Cardinals start putting the game away. I had to punish him for that with the grades and knock him down to a C. As far as Bradford goes, I'm really excited by the throws he's making. I keep saying, the back shoulder throw to Brent Selleck was was huge. Was a
great
big
throw, great catch too by Selleck.
And I thought NBC at one point did a really good job of illustrating the tight windows that Bradford was throwing through to hit some of these guys like Jordan Matthews and Zach Ertz.
The one Matthews touchdown, Bradford got hit in chin. He had to wait that thing out before Matthews cleared the last line of defenders. And Bradford hung in there, and he got hit in the chin strap. But hey, you scored a touchdown there. Good job by Bradford.
He's stepping up in the pocket well. He's really using his feet well. He seems like he's more balanced and confident. You take those. I mean, the sack fumble is going to happen when you get that kind of pressure. He's got to hold on to the ball, sure, but he took a huge hit. A
lot of quarterbacks are going to fumble that ball.
Exactly. The interceptions are what kill you, and that's what he's got to keep from doing. If he doesn't turn the ball over like that, this team, I mean. I think he's coming around. I really do. And so I gave him a C just because a pick six can't happen, and the other interception really got him. But 28-40, he was 9 of 11 at one point through 3 possessions for 102 yards and a touchdown. I mean, who's not going to take that?
Yeah, I mean, Bradford is a guy you can spend a few hours on just talking about his future and where his game is now. And I think in that pick six, you could even – put Ryan Matthews down to a D because we found out today that really it was Matthews, it was his responsibility to clear that defender, and I think Chip Kelly alluded to this in his press conference. That pick six, a lot of people thought it was kind of a miscommunication, but I think we found out today that it was more so on Ryan Matthews. It was his fault, that interception, or was it, I mean, obviously it's Bradford's fault too because he threw the damn ball, but I think he was expecting Matthews in a different spot, was he not?
Yeah, I think so. That's what Chip said today, and you're right. That's another reason to possibly dock Matthews a little further. But that's what this offense is based on, and it's where it can get you into trouble in situations like that. If both guys are supposed to recognize what's going on and know what the other one is going to do based on what the defense gives you, what they do. You hear the offense say that a lot. In this scheme, we take what the defense gives us. That means that the back and the quarterback have to be able to know where they're supposed to go based on what the defender does. Bradford thought he was going to go one way. Matthews just stayed put. And what happens is what you saw, a pick six, and that can kill you.
One more C here before we get to the B's. You did give some B's and A's here on this list there, Grayson. Chip Kelly gets a C. The 4th and 1 decision obviously backfires. You could have taken the points there, went into halftime, only down a score. And you do get the ball in the third quarter. He also missed on a challenge, I think, in the second half there. You cost your team a timeout there. It really didn't, matter. But
I didn't mind the challenge because it was such a huge play.
And it was really quick. It was a good job by Arizona getting down to the line. But Chip Kelly gets a C, Scott.
Yeah, and my biggest problem was not, again, like we talked about earlier in the show, not that he went for it on 4th and 1, but the play call that he chose, the things that he didn't do that I thought he could have done in that situation. As well as to the fact that, I called him out in here as well I said he's coached a team that has a Jekyll and Hyde personality. It appears they can hang with anybody, but they can also lose to anybody, meaning that they've been competitive for a while in some of these games against some of the better teams in the league. They've beaten the Patriots. They were hanging with the Panthers for a while earlier in the season, but they can't play 4 quarters, and that's where I look at the coach as the guy that needs to be able to figure out how to get a team to play 4 quarters. Certainly by week 16 they should be able to do that. And they're still trying to find a way to do that. And I think the blame goes on the coach there.
For the B's, you gave out B to Michael Kendricks, Jalen Watkins, and Josh Huff. Good job by those guys. Skipping over to the A's, Zach Ertz, Jordan Matthews had a lot of targets in that game last night for Matthews. That was good to see. And, of course, the busted coverage on that touchdown. And Fletcher Cox. So Ertz, Matthews, and Fletcher Cox, they all get A's from you, Scott.
Absolutely. I mean, Ertz was the only one I was sitting there like, Dad, do I drop him to a B? Because he did have the big drop you talked about, but he made some big catches. He made some big plays. He did what Ertz needs to do. 8 catches in the game for 78 yards and a touchdown. I'll take that every day. Jordan Matthews, 3 catches on the opening drive for 53 yards. I mean, that really helped get the game open for the Eagles to get on the board on their first possession. And then, of course, like you said, the blown coverage. I mean, Jordan Matthews was making some good catches, and I don't know, for a while it looked like he wanted to play with a chainsaw the way he kept starting up that ball after he made some big catches.
He had that nice Rocky touchdown celebration I know he was getting a little heat for.
Yeah, it's not the time or place, I thought, when you're down by that many to do it, but you can tell he's probably been waiting weeks to do something like that at home, and I guess he took advantage of the opportunity. Fletcher Cox, don't really need to say much about. The man needs to get paid at some point this offseason. They have to do some sort of a contract extension, so he's not going through a contract year next year. He's done his job and then some, for sure.
Yeah, I think Cox is the only guy on this team that really you can say undoubtedly this guy is a superstar. This guy is going to be a future superstar in this league for a long time. That's the only guy on this roster. Everyone else is complimentary. They're good pieces to build with. Jordan Matthews is a nice slot wide receiver, but he's not good enough. He's not a Jeremy Maclin or a Deshaun Jackson. He's not a playmaker. Ryan Matthews, good runner. Darren Sproles, good piece, but they're not LaShawn McCoy. That's the problem that I think we've run into here with this Chip Kelly offense. You have a lot of pieces, but they haven't replaced the playmaking abilities of LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, and Jeremy Maclin.
And it makes you wonder. I heard this great question posed. If you were going to go to the store to buy a Christmas present for somebody and you said, I want to get them a jersey, an Eagles jersey of somebody who's going to be here for at least 3 years.
I'm going Fletcher Cox.
What jersey do you buy? That's exactly where I was going with it. That's a guy I'd go after and get the 91 for someone to say, hey, here's a jersey you can wear to some games for the next few years that will match the name and the number to the player.
Absolutely. So there is Grayson's Grades right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Get all the grades on 973ESPN.com.